No software is perfect, and perfection is the enemy of good. That's the philosophy going into this video. Now, I've spent a lot of time playing Civilization 6. It's such a good game that it featured in a top 5 video for great UX design. I think there's a lot of brilliant stuff packed into this video. I love it so much that it was my choice for the first game that I wanted to break down a UX analysis of. But even I have to admit, this game is not perfect from a UX point of view. Now, the purpose of this video is not to go into things that I think are actually bad on the UX side. I think if Civ 6 was bad from a UX point of view, it wouldn't be as good a game as it is. This video is to highlight my top 5 tiny visual imperfections, the real sand, the real grains of irritation, which don't detract from the overall product. As a designer, I think they're worth looking into. I think they're worth talking about to give an idea as to the level of quality of this overall game. And I think it's interesting to see the level of visual bug that makes it through the quality assurance process. I'm sure that the developers were probably fully aware of most of the stuff on this list, but they too considered it minor enough for it not to matter to the overall product. So with all the disclaimers out of the way, let's jump into it. These are my top 5 absolutely tiny, irrelevant bugs in Civilization 6. Enjoy. First though, as is tradition on YouTube videos, an honourable mention. Now, why is this an honourable mention? Why didn't it make it into the top 5? This is an honourable mention because it is so minor, such a nitpick, that I wouldn't even want to put it on this list. Not only would I not say to a developer that this needs fixing, I wouldn't even put it on this list. It is an honourable mention only, and that is if you have a game where Buddhism is chosen as a religion, then when you go into the religion screen, the wheel icon is slightly off center. I know, disaster, 0 out of 10, totally unplayable. Take it back. This is the kind of level of UX detail we're going into in this video, so when I say that this is a list of my top 5 nitpicks, this is the level that I'm talking about. Next up, we have the inconsistency of the cog icon. The cogs represent production in this game, and if you zoom in on the map, you can see the cogs. They're nice, they're orange. On the city panel, you also have the cogs. You have the cogs by the gold, the cogs with the faith, and the cogs with Change City production. Now, my gripe here is not that these are not orange. That wouldn't make any sense. As I discussed in my previous video, the fact that these are blue and white to make them pop more against the background is exactly what you want to be doing with these buttons. My gripe is that the cog is inconsistently angled with regard to the viewer. In both the map and the choose production icon, the cog is slightly offset to the user, giving it this 3D effect. I think that should be consistent with the buttons in the city screen here. If I were mocking this up, and literally I spent about 30 seconds doing it in Paint, I would recommend that it should look something like that. And this is literally the screenshot that I would give to a developer to say, make this cog look more like this. Again, this is a really minor issue. It's a very, very subtle piece of UX, and that's why it makes it onto this list. For the next niggle, we're going to have to go right back out to the loading screen here, and this niggle is if you save the game whilst you are in a lens, you have to click the lens twice to get out of the lens. This can also happen sometimes when you're passing the turn. If you ended your turn whilst in a lens and the turn comes back round to you, this will also happen, but it's easiest to demonstrate actually on a loaded game. So I have here a game that I've saved. I'm going to click continue game, and we're going to load the game directly into a lens. Now, I don't want to load the game directly into a lens. I'm going to go over to my lenses and I'm going to have a look, and I see that none of my lenses are selected. I can tell that I'm clearly in the religion lens though, so I'm going to select the religion lens, and that's going to take me out of the religion lens now. If it were me, I would say that on load, clear all lenses. At the start of a turn, clear all lenses. I don't think any of the lenses are critical enough that you would necessarily want to start your turn with a lens active. Otherwise, you could also put this as a user option, remember lens setting between turns, something along those lines. Next up on our list we have what to me is possibly the most frustrating thing about the game, but again it's such a minor niggle, and that is the time delay when you mouse over a terrain not seeing what that terrain produces or not seeing the terrain type of that terrain. If I hover my mouse over a terrain, I will then get a pop-up saying plains, rainforest, bananas, movement cost 2, defense modifier 3, all really good information. But there is this lag of about 1 second to have this pop-up appear. I would really like this to be some kind of window, perhaps down here, or perhaps by the map screen, because it is a map-related feature, where this can just be constantly updating as I move the mouse over the hexes. Again, it's very minor. I just wish there was a way to adjust this timing. It makes me almost want to play the game in strategy view so that I can see things more clearly sometimes. But that's what makes it on the list. Next up on our list, we have the Religious Citizens icon. Now, I mentioned this in my top 5 UX wins for Civilization 6, and you can see that video in the card here. What I was referring to is that when you have a dominant religion in a city, the Religious Citizens icon changes to be the icon of the religion that is dominant in that city. The problem is, it doesn't really work when you have a city that doesn't have a dominant religion. In Rio de Janeiro, for example, we have the Scorpion, and in Brasilia, we have the Crescent Moon. However, Sao Paulo doesn't have a dominant religion. If we go to Sao Paulo, the icon that's given is the Crescent Moon. However, if we go to the Toggle City Details screen and have a look at the religious citizens in the city, we have 2 citizens are Bolas chosen citizens, 1 is Protestantism, and 0 is Islam. And this city is actually going to convert to the Scorpion in 11 turns. This is almost actually a bug rather than a UX fail. But again, it's so minor, you would never fix this. The final spot on our list goes to the ordering of the 3 buttons in the city pane. The Change City Production, the Purchase an Item with Faith, and the Purchase Item with Gold. Now, there's nothing wrong with the ordering of these 3 buttons in this pane. The problem is the consistency between the ordering of these buttons and the ordering of the buttons in the Choose Production blade. In the Choose Production blade, it goes Production, Purchase, and Purchase with Faith. In the City bar, it's Purchase an Item with Gold, Purchase an Item with Faith, and Change City Production. Now, maybe it's because, well, Change City Production needs to be the furthest on the right because it's the one you're most likely going for, and it needs to be furthest on the left when it comes out into the blade. That would be a totally reasonable point to make from a UX point of view. My difficulty with it is that the ordering is not just reversed, it's totally different. Even if this were mirrored, it would be Production, Faith, Gold, Production, Faith, Gold, except it's not. It's Production, Faith, Gold, Production, Gold, Faith. Or if you read both left to right consistently, it's Gold Faith Production, Production Gold Faith. I would never suggest to a developer that it should be changed, but this is why it makes it to the #1 spot on this list. So that's about going to wrap it up for this list of the top 5 most irrelevant nitpicks in Civilization 6. Did you agree with this list? What frustrates you when you play this game? Leave a comment below, I'd love to see them. If you like this video, please consider giving it a thumbs up, and also consider giving me your subscription. Even if you unsubscribe later, it'll still help out. As always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you soon.